everybody. So the ACC is considering playing fewer conference games to beef up the old non-con schedule and lose the toy poodle reputation. Oh, Ole Miss snags another transfer guard, plus the Fighting Texas A&M Aggies and the Utah Utes are two programs with new coaches and new starting fives thanks to the portal. The captain, Mike Holland, joins me right now to break it all down, recording live from somewhere. This is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that One and Done train. Welcome to One and Done. Bienvenidos a todos a One and Done, your fast break of college basketball información. And we are brought to you by the greatest website in the galaxy, drroto.com. I'm your sometimes humble host. My name is Jay Heinrich, and I happen to be the conductor of the aforementioned One and Done train. Follow me on X at Dr. William Cannon. I'll follow you back. Faux show. But what's a Sunday night on One and Done without this man? El Capitan himself, the captain of the One and Done ship. Follow him on X at MC Holland 34. The OG Money Mike, Mr. Mike Holland. Mike, what it do?
Yo, what up, my man? Glad to be back on with you after a little 4-day hiatus. So, looking forward to talking about your Aggies, Jay, and then profiling the Utes, and then talking about some underrated kind of moves that have been made. But hey, if I it's Mike's Baylor Bears, maybe it can be Jay's Aggies. Maybe we can make that a thing in the live chat. Maybe those guys will hop on that, or gals can jump on that train. But yeah, I'm doing good, man. Just kind of paying attention to what's going on with early entrants in the NBA draft. If you're looking at obviously some incoming high school recruits, how that's going to affect teams, retention piece, coaching interviews hopefully coming up soon, man. So yeah, we're dialed in, we're locked in.
No doubt about it. We are talking basketball 365. We're not slowing it down just because it's the off season. Nope. We're coming to you live all the time, year-round. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons so you don't miss a minute of our college basketball coverage. Notification bells helps too. And if you hit those buttons, you can hop in the live chat like our man, the Hall of Famer, CC Hustle. Nate popping in the live chat right there, dropping the fire emoji, saluting. The liveliest live chat in all of college basketball, some have said. I have said. But, you be the judge. Hop in there. I'm sure it'll fire up real soon. Get in there with all the breadheads. Push all those buttons. Make sure you follow at Fantasy Nav in those Twitter streets, too. Eric the Blue, making big things happen behind the scenes, getting those pretty graphics up on the screen and setting everything up for us as well. At One and Done CBB on all the socials is where you should find us. For the show, mainly over there on X at One and Done CBB. But however you have found us, however you're watching us tonight, if you're watching live or if you're watching later, we appreciate you for sure. All right, let's hop into it. Mike, some news and notes before we get into the Aggies of Texas A&M and the Utes of Utah. But first, I hit it in the cold open. Ole Miss lands another guard from the portal earlier this afternoon. This is Sunday if you're watching live. Travis Perry, number 222 on the old Mike Big Board over at drroto.com. The top 500 as it is now filled out. Mike, do we have 500 officially over there at drroto.com?
Yeah, we've got 500 on there. We'll probably get an article update on drroto.com probably Monday or Tuesday.
Excellent. Good stuff there. And you'll find Travis Perry around 222, formerly of Kentucky, now within the conference, heading down the road to Chris Beard and Ole Miss. A lot of untapped potential for the sophomore to be. Mike, how do you feel about this get for Coach Beard?
Yeah, I think it's a solid get. They were linked to BJ Haggerty for a little bit, and it turns out that might be just a one-team race. Or really either return to Memphis or go into NC State. So, Ole Miss, a lot of the Power 4, Power 5 teams, it seems like they're not as deep this year, but I think that's because we basically lost 2 senior classes. So when you're looking at the portal, man, like just it's not as top heavy as it was last year. I probably could have done a top 1,000 honestly last year with the quality of players that are in there. This year, when you start getting into the fours and the fives, man, it was a lot tougher this year. It seems like we got to 500 pretty easily last year. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a solid take. Obviously, had to play some meaningful minutes last year. I don't know that he's going to be a star, right? Like I think he's got a very, very solid all around type game. Obviously, they got AJ Storr in the transfer portal, so he's going to be jacking up a bunch of shots. Corin Johnson. He's going to be jacking up a bunch of shots. Malik Diaz is back for them. So they've got a pretty solid core there. I think this just gives them, some depth here.
Now look, I'm only gonna acknowledge this comment because it's actually clever. Ole Miss getting Pope's used TP because it's his initials, Travis Perry. I get it. Okay, very good. Peanut Butter Posse, our resident Big Blue Nation figurehead, I guess, if you will. Shout out to Peanut Butter Posse. Yeah, no longer over there for Coach Pope, heading down the streets, I guess, if you will, within the conference to hang out with Chris Beard and Ole Miss. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons like Peanut Butter Posse has. Hop in the live chat, the liveliest live chat in all of college hoops. Mike, I also talked about this. The toy poodle conference, man, like you get that knock on you heading, in Final Four time of the year. And what do you say? But yeah, I mean, you just got to kind of take it and go. But the ACC doesn't look like they're going to just take that and stand still and be happy with it. There's talks, Mike, that they're considering reducing the amount of conference games in order to sort of beef up that non-conference schedule and, maybe get some more of those tier 1 wins under their belts earlier in the season to try to, lose that. And man, has there been a description more disrespectful at that point on television by an opposing head coach? Like, that's just tough to swallow. But obviously, Mike, they feel like it's not too far off base because it sounds like they're trying to make some adjustments here. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they got to make some adjustments after last year. Really, after the last couple of years, there just hasn't been a lot of strength at the very top. It's been kind of one of those. I mean, they've been producing, right? Like they've gotten a team to the Final Four. I think they've won 8 of the last 23 or 24 NCAA titles. So I mean, it's still it's more of a matter of the depth that we haven't seen recently. Like we've got a lot of teams after you get past the first 3 or 4 where it's like, you don't know if they'd be beating A-10 teams right now. So yeah, I think it's a smart move here. I think it allows for the ACC to go out and get a couple of more quad. Like how many times do we keep saying like UNC has to win a quad 1 game and there's not many in the ACC play? Well, if that another team happens to get into that type of situation, maybe you have 1 or 2 more quad 1 games, maybe a neutral game, maybe an MTE tournament. So just more opportunities. I think it's smart for them to do that, especially if they feel like the strength of the SEC and Big Ten, on the rise. You got the Mountain West, who's been really good recently. So I think this is a smart decision. We'll see what they end up going this route, man. But I don't mind it at all.
Well, you got to just take a look in the mirror. And, whether or not it was cool of that to happen that way, we were all thinking it. I mean, the quiet part was just said out loud, right? And to be honest, I'm impressed that a conference is actually being proactive in this instance. They understand the optics of this, right? Like they get it. They understand that they're the butt of the joke, if you will. And how do you not be the butt of the joke anymore? You make a change and you try to get some tougher non-conference games on your schedule. Now, how willing are some of these quad 1, quad 2 type teams going to be? How willing are they going to be to add an ACC team to their non-conference schedule? Hopefully very willing, because they're looking to boost resumes too. So hopefully this ends up benefiting the game on the whole. But
didn't it feel like there wasn't any slack for Coach Sampson saying that? Like everybody just normally there would be some kind of wow, how could a coach?
That's what I've been trying. That's what I'm saying, man. Like it just feels like it's one of the most disrespectful things you can freaking say
And they
And he
got
picked
no
that time
play.
to say it, and nobody cared. You know why? Because it's true. It was true, Mike. What are you
Yeah.
gonna say? And we all thought it. He
Yeah, we
said
all
it
thought
part
it.
part out loud. I mean,
And
and so I mean, it's like, how? What are you going to get mad at? What are you going to get mad at? You can't.
and
So
Darren's saying I'm taking jabs at the A10. I'm saying that I was trying to lift the A10 up to. I've been looking at rosters over the last couple of days. The A10, there's like 4 teams, and I'm like, oh man, these guys are going to be really good. So no jab at the A10. I'm talking about them raising their level to be up there with the ACCs. I feel like those middle. I mean, you put Boston College up against. Like, I'm looking at Loyola Chicago. I'm looking at Dayton. I'm like, I don't know that they would even be favored on a neutral court. So no knock on A10, Darren. Appreciate the comment though.
good to see Darren in the live chat as always. Darren's pretty active with us on the socials as well, and we hope you hop in the live chat with Darren with Peanut Butter Posse. Darren, of course, of North Texas lore. Go Mean Green, hashtag GMG. I'm sure we'll see it in the live chat at some point tonight. I hope we do. At least, see right there, we get it. We get the Go Mean Green. Anybody want to play a home and home in Denton? Anybody wanting to go down there? I mean, honestly, made the run at the old NIT banner, right? They hung one up in Austin for winning that thing. So, making a run at it, not too shabby there, Darren. But I don't know. Who do you think is going to want to go into Denton? Who is your ideal matchup, Denton, or to go to Denton, I should say, Darren? Let us know in the live chat.
You imagine Duke traveling to Denton?
No, I don't. But that'd be fun, obviously. Cram them in there. Why not?
I just think if
Darren?
if those programs are going to do that, why wouldn't they help out their own state, within the state? So that's why you see Texas with Texas State and UTSA like that. I mean, that's more of what it is versus like one of those deals where you just go play a random school. That's pretty much the optics of it. I mean, obviously there's legislature and stuff. They want these schools to, to help their fellow state schools as well. So there's a lot of that goes on.
Peanut Butter Posse with an interesting proposition here. If there's going to be conferences with 16 to 18 team scheduling, should match the teams projected to be at the top to play twice. It is a thing now when we're getting these super conferences, Mike, something to consider in terms of scheduling fairness. And how do you break them up into tiers like that, though, and still make it fair? Like the teams projected to be at the top. We've seen teams that have, been projected to be at the bottom of these conferences and find a way to outright win them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if that's the way to go, but I mean, honestly, I get the conversation here, Peanut Butter Posse. It's like, how do you fairly break this up? I mean, we've been having the same conversation in college football for years, like the round robin. In the SEC, does Texas play Alabama every year? No, it's like if you miss Alabama and Georgia in an SEC schedule, that's not necessarily as fair as having to play those. But it's the same thing with college basketball, right, Mike? Like,
I think it's even harder because like you want Duke and UNC to play home and home, so like that's 2 games right there, and you saw that this year. They want Texas and Texas A&M to play home and home. Like I mean that's been scheduled in. So then it becomes more a factor. Like, what about the teams that don't really have those type of rivalries? It's kind of unfair for a Duke or UNC to have to play each other twice, and then Boston College plays neither one of them. I feel like I'm picking on Boston College, but just per se. So I think that's where it comes in, man. Like the home and home deal, it was so much easier. Remember when the Big 10 had, when the Big 12 had 10 teams for a year there, and everybody just played each other twice on an 18-game schedule. That was pretty easy, home and home. But now it just gets a little more ridiculous because you're going to get schedules that are completely unbalanced. Like you talked about college football. I just think it's much harder in basketball because you're talking about the rivalries that you have with home and away. Those are going to stay. We're not going to get one North Carolina game and it's at UNC one year and then at Duke the next year. It doesn't make any sense for the sport. So what's the importance of the non-con? Because we can see tough teams play each other. We get an idea.
Well, and obviously, if you're the ACC, the importance of the non-conference shows up in the strength of your
and the Mountain West
conference. Right, exactly. So I think it's super important, Darren. Peanut Butter Posse, one last thing, talking about the previous year standings, right? Like the 4th place team in that division has the 4th place schedule. That's something to consider, man. I like
That's
those
interesting.
conversations. I like finding ways to try to, because honestly, you got to do the same thing every year, right? Otherwise, that's what ends up making this fair, right? The only thing that's fair is that it's consistent. And that's what, obviously
Right.
a good idea there. Good stuff, Peanut Butter Posse. We appreciate your contribution to the live chat as always. And we hope you hop in there if you haven't already with Darren, with Peanut Butter Posse, with our guy, CC Hustle, who's also pushing the buttons tonight. Shout out to him at The Real Napier as well. So push all those buttons, like and subscribe at One and Done CBB on the socials. And as I was taking a big sip out of my cup here, non-sponsored ad here for Whataburger. But if you could put it in the live chat, what's your go-to, like if you could just get a big, large fountain drink from, somewhere, I don't know what, Whataburger just hits different for me.
Sonic.
That's good too.
7-Eleven.
Put it in the live chat. Let us know.
1990s.
I don't know, man. Like that Sprite from McDonald's is extra spicy too. When it comes out, it's so like it's a little extra, got that extra spicy kick to it,
Yeah.
Triple meat, triple cheese challenge with a Coke Zero. That a boy.
Yeah.
They don't call him the Hall of Famer for nothing. Good stuff there, Nape. All right, hop in there. Let us know what your fast food beverage of choice is, where you're getting it, and we're going to hop right into the Fighting Aggies of Texas A&M. Go down to College Station where the men are men, and never mind, I'm not going to finish that joke. All right, Texas A&M, Buzz Williams out the door for Maryland. We talked about him on the last show, I believe, when we were on air. The Aggies now turn to Bucky Ball with the hiring of Samford's Bucky McMillan. Bucky Ball, Mike, as you know, a stark contrast from the grindhouse style we saw from Buzz's teams. So basically, to no one's surprise, right? New coach coming in, and just like 90+% of all new coaches in this day and age have to build a roster from scratch. So he's landed 5 players inside our top 500, Mike, and those project to basically be the starting lineup. It's a mix, I would say, Mike, for sure. A mix of sort of formerly highly rated recruits, some former mid-major studs, like a hodgepodge of talent and untapped potential, and guys that have done it at a little bit lower of a level here, now jumping up to SEC play. What do you think of the additions that Bucky McMillan has made, starting his tenure out in College Station for the Aggies?
Yeah, I mean, for the Aggies, it's going to look completely different from what we saw over the Buzz Williams era, which was basically dominate the glass. You're going to obviously play really, really good defense, and then you just pray that you shoot it well enough to continue your season on. We're going to see a completely contrasting style where Bucky wants, at least he's shown that he wants to get up and down. He wants to shoot a bunch of three-pointers. That's going to be a big thing. The roster that's kind of here right now, I don't like. It's intriguing. We're going to have to see this thing. It's going to be a little more clarity. 5 to 10 games in, they're one of the teams that I'm ready to watch for the first 10 games of the season to see how he kind of makes this thing work, going from Samford to the SEC. So, first guy on here is Nkenzie Mbako, who's the highest rated highest rated transfer on our big board here, number 68. Averaged 12 points at Indiana. You got Rylan Griffin here at 119, the wing from Kansas. Number 137 is Federico 2 times, the center from Texas Tech. Number 251 is Shakari Lane, the guard from North Alabama. And then Marcus Hill, the guard from North Carolina State. So, you've got some name recognition at the very top, especially in Mbako. I mean, this is probably going to be the most talented player Bucky's ever had. He's a former 5-star. He just never really got it going at Indiana. He's a 3-level scorer. Like, his strength is attacking the rim and using screens. So it's one of those things where I think he's going to be taking a lot of shots in this offense, especially since he's versatile and can play the 3 or the 4. I kind of see him taking over like the Trey Fort role from last year. But he's gonna have to be much more of a facilitator. Like, Bucky wants to move the ball and get the open shot, whereas Mbaka is more of a kind of wants to get his. So we'll see how he kind of fits into this. But I think he's set up for a solid year in this up-tempo offense. Lane and Hill, they were pretty dominant in the mids. Lane the last 3 years at North Alabama. Hill was a 20-point scorer at Bowling Green before last year when he transferred to North Carolina State and played in the ACC and averaged 11 points. I think the thing with these two guys is the efficiency and the effectiveness on both ends of the floor. Can it be there for him? Like, neither guy is what you would consider a plus defender. So I definitely worry about that side of the ball. Lane offensively is much more versatile than Hill. I mean, like he has pretty deep range on his three ball. He has 76th percentile on the on ball screen handler and 79th percentile in spot up. So he's definitely a solid player. I do worry a bit about this jump that he's trying to try to make. He even has a little bit of an ISO game to him. And then Hill, man, I thought he would kind of fall flat on his face because he was very inefficient at Bowling Green, but he scored 20 points per game. 56% at the rim on nearly 60% of his attempts. So he can get downhill on you. I don't see the fit here. This is not like a Bucky ball type guy because his weakness is shooting, which is what Bucky is kind of predicated on, is shooting a bunch of threes. Like, he doesn't really have catch and shoot ability. He can't score off the dribble. He's not much of a facilitator. Like, he wants to get downhill into the basket. The 8 tier 8 games he played this past year, his offensive rating was 26 points less than his season. So I think the issue is you want Lane to have the ball in his hands as much as possible, but for Hill to be effective, he needs the ball to get downhill, and he doesn't really provide floor spacing to let Lane operate. So it's kind of a weird mix here. I think Federico is an awesome addition, along with the floor spacing Rylan Griffin. Like Federico, a little bit of a fit issue because he doesn't space the floor at the 5. And you look at Bucky's 5s, Jay, over the last 4 years, Achor, Dye, you had Brownell, all of those guys in the last 4 years, Bucky ball has had the starting 5 shoot 38% or better from 3. Federico didn't even attempt a 3-pointer last year, but what it'll give them is the glass, shot blocking, a lob guys. I think him and Hill, it's just a completely different style than what Bucky likes to do. I think if you were to put those two guys together downhill, getting downhill and throwing lobs, those two guys kind of work together. And you think Ronald Griffin's probably like the perfect fit in this offense. Like, we saw him as a floor spacer with Alabama a couple of years ago. The question is, like, who's going to get on the ball? Because there's not really a big-time facilitator outside the lane currently. So, yeah, there's still some more work to do. We'll see how Bucky kind of mixes and matches this stuff, man. I don't know. It seems like we got some more work to do to get the full effect of Bucky ball here.
Well, first of all, I think we need to ask the question, what's the deal with having players that have the same first and last names? You got Achor, you got Federico. Like, what's the deal here? Like, is this just a Bucky thing? Like, are they like they got, they somehow find their way to him, whatever it is.
That's awesome.
Obviously talented players. Okay, you mentioned it though. A team like Texas A&M, when you get a coach that has done it a certain way at a lower level for a long time, and then you get up to the big time, if you will, the SEC, the toughest conference in all the land this past season for sure. Do you think we see Bucky stray away from his style a little bit with his personnel? You talked about the fit. You talked about what these players have done in previous stops. And we saw it up close here in Austin with Shaka Smart sort of going away from that style that he had.
Defense.
And as people who have followed the Texas Longhorn program very closely for a long time, we were expecting that sort of havoc and did not get it once he got here. So do you think we see Bucky stray away from his style with this personnel, maybe at least in year one?
I think you kind of have to. Otherwise, I don't know that the results are going to be what Texas A&M fans really want. I think Johnny K jumping in here talking about the Jamie Vinson, the 6'11" big that's coming over from Texas. I mean, haven't really seen him much. He played 5 minutes last year. I mean, he's got a decent game, but like the problems here, like we need floor spacing for this to work, man. There's just like outside of Rylan Griffin and Jakari Lane, who's stepping up big time in competition, there's not. Marcus Hill's less than 30% of his career. And Baco, more of a guy that wants to get downhill. Federico didn't attempt a 3 last year. Like Josh Holloway, he's coming with him from Samford, shot 28% from 3 last year. Like Jamie Vinson has no volume. Zach Clements, the Kansas transfer, the big at 6'11", he doesn't shoot 3s. So like, yeah, Jay, I think we still got some more slots here to fill out. There's just, I don't know, man. It seems like we might not see full Bucky ball until the following year. I don't know, man. They're an interesting team to follow because he's going to have to buck the trend, I think, if he wants to maximize the potential of his roster.
And he knows he has the time to, figure this out and shape this roster, shape this program in his own image. they're going to give him some time out in College Station, as I think they should. This is a tough ask of a coach. Moving into this situation, playing big power conference ball and leading that program, it's going to be tough, but we'll see how it goes for Bucky ball out there. Man, this is Coach McMillan's got his work cut out for him for sure. All right, let's hop in that live chat and see what's going on here. Asking Peanut Butter Posse was asking if we're Spurs, Mavs, or Rockets fans. There's your answer for me right there. You see it back on the wall, as it always is right here on One and Done. Mike's a Spurs fan, for the record. And Los Spurs indeed. I am leaning back every once in a while to look at this 8-point game right now in live, I believe. Rockets are down, and looking at that Summit logo at half court, man, like, it's a beautiful thing. It brought me back to the early 90s. Watching those games with Hakeem and Otis Thorpe and Kenny Smith and Vernon Maxwell and all that stuff. So big news for Pop here, Mike, obviously, lately. Shout out to Pop, man, for all he's done for the league, for sure.
Yeah,
too.
Shout out, man. I like how he's challenging our Darren there's challenging our Tom Penders. I've been wanting Terrence Rencher as a coach around Texas for a while.
You mentioned that. That's you'd have to go back to the Bacon and Egg Show days to get to get a Rencher mention. But I'm sure it happened for sure.
I think he's an assistant at Creighton right now, if I'm not mistaken. So
is that right?
He's doing his thing right now.
Yeah, you've been talking about him for years. Spurs fan love churros. Okay, Darren, let's not fall into the Charles Barkley. I mean, it might be true. But yes, okay.
Blanks and Mays comments here in a minute, but we'll move on. This is not about Texas today.
yeah, no doubt about it. All right, good stuff there. Let's hop over to Utah here. Mike, after 4 seasons, Utah let go of fourth-year head coach Craig Smith. The Utes went to the NBA for the next head man, who is also an alum, former Ute himself, in Dallas Mavericks assistant head coach Alex Jensen, Mountain West Player of the Year himself for Utah back in 2000, and played in the 1998 national championship game against Kentucky. What he's done in a short amount of time with this roster, pretty intriguing, if I do say so myself, Mike. Most of the roster is gone, as we sort of alluded to earlier, with these new coaches having to start from scratch. But he was able to retain budding star forward Keanu Dawes, big-time keep there, I guess. We used to joke, like, sometimes the best transfers are the ones that you keep back. Yeah. And Dawes definitely sort of fits that bill, as he withdrew from the portal to stay with the Utes. They've quietly put together a solid roster through the portal, Mike. 5 of those in the top 500, actually all of them within the top 400. Mike, what's the squad going to look like?
Yeah, I find them really intriguing. And obviously you get Dawes back. Like, that really helps. So it's about the transfer pieces fitting around him. Some interesting rankings and some interesting guys like Terrence Brown, number 145 on the big board from FDU. I've actually moved him down as I've kind of gone over his metrics and watched a little bit of film on him. Averaged 20 points per game, so wired to score. Elijah Moore, he's a guard from Syracuse. Played 15 minutes for Syracuse last year. Ja'Kai Howard, might have him too low, number 258 of Auburn, mid-airplane flight lore there. But his metrics look really good, and he's a prized recruit from the previous year. Don McHenry's coming over from Western Kentucky. He's a point guard and played a little bit of off-ball. And then Sadie Traore coming in from Iowa, who averaged 6 points and 3 boards, played about 16 minutes a game last year for them at number 380. So the numbers kind of suggest okay, why are we so intrigued? Well, Dawes was, obviously a big keep for them. He put some of these guys around him. It starts getting a little interesting compared to where they were last year. And I might be a victim to this Terrence Brown season that he just had. He absolutely filled up the box score, but he wasn't particularly efficient or effective. And he was actually negative on both Evan Maya's OBPM and DPBM. But I kind of look at who he was playing with. I think you surround him with some better players around him. I look at the eye test, and I watched him play Creighton this past year. He had to take on a massive role. He went from a 20% usage rate to a 33% usage rate. So that's a huge jump for a guy freshman to sophomore year. And I don't know that he's a guy that you want to start, but as a microwave option for 20 minutes to come off the bench to be able to make some things happen. I don't know. I just look at his tier A numbers, man. Like his offensive rating was actually better against those tier A opponents. Maybe he steps it up against tougher competition. He had 19 against Creighton, 23 against Nebraska, 27 against Villanova, and he's like the only option on that team, really. So
Dude, some guys just play better when the lights
Right.
are brighter.
Absolutely.
They just do.
And so, like, I don't want to fall victim, right? But I also have seen him and watched him, and obviously looked at some film here, and he's quite an intriguing player here. Elijah Moore wasn't a lot of opportunity at Syracuse because you have J.J. Starling there taking a million shots and playing a million minutes, but he flashed a little bit during his freshman year. He was 79th percentile in off-ball screen scoring, so you don't mind that. He does need to improve his three ball, and I think what you could say about a lot of these guys is that there's some years ahead of them. These are developmental guys. Like, we'll see what Coach Jensen can do. I don't know that it's going to pay immediate dividends next year. I think maybe if he's able to retain some of these guys the year after, because that's especially true of Ja'Kai Howard. I mean, we only saw him in spurts. He didn't really have to do anything for a Final Four Auburn team, but he was a top 75 recruit, a 4-star. We'll take what we saw. So much upside. I think he had an offensive rating in the 120. So when he was on the floor, like, he was producing. He showed he can attack the rim. He can shoot the three. He's also an impact defender. He's an elite athlete. So this is someone that Utah, a guy that they really don't get, like these projects that they can turn into stars. I think he's got some of that with him. McHenry, a little bit of a head scratcher. He's like a score first point guard at 6'2". He's kind of similar to Brown, where they had to carry their mid-major programs. Major high usage guys, that usage is going to scale way down playing for a Big 12 teams here. So I worry about his effectiveness and just kind of his subpar playmaking skills if they're going to try him at the point. He did play a little bit more of the off-ball scoring role, but he's 6'2". I don't know that you want to put a small point guard with him. Defensively doesn't seem very smart. And then Traore, like, he comes over Power 5 experience from Iowa, effective defender. He can play the 3 or the 4. He's actually most effective in post-ups on offense. So I think he actually complements Dawes pretty well. Who's more of like a pick and roll, pick and pop guy. He can stretch the floor. So I think those two we'll play well off of each other. So yeah, like you kind of mentioned, Jay, like, it's intriguing. I don't know that it's like this like huge needle mover in year one, but all these guys, man, like, Moore, Howard, they got some year, even Terrence Brown, like, keep these guys, man. Dawes, I think, is going into his junior year. So you keep these guys around, have a solid year this year, and then maybe take the next step the following year.
Shout out to the Utes. Shout out to Keith Van Horn. Always looking for a Keith Van Horn reference in the live chat there. Shout out to you, Johnny K, for giving us that. Darren actually dropped it in there first. Love it. Keep that stuff coming. Never mad at the Keith Van Horn reference. Absolutely. What else? Oh, Michael Doliak reference as well in the live chat. Man, we're playing all the greatest hits right there. Keep that coming for sure. Love
agree with Darren, Jay.
Big, tall, lanky, white dude.
Yeah.
Utah center, man. Why not?
That's not what this team looks like. It's got a little more NBA flavor athleticism. That obviously goes to Jensen's background.
Is that just a fancy way of saying it looks not white? Is that what you were saying? Oh,
no, wait. Cooper Flag's the number one pick.
I'm just messing with you. That NBA athleticism definitely on the Utes right now. All right.
Luka Doncic's athleticism.
Hey, shout out Luka, man. Shout out Luka. Went out in a blaze of glory there, didn't they? Didn't the Lakers? Man. Ooh. Hate to see it, don't you? Anyways, let's hit those like and subscribe buttons. We got one more segment here on one end done. The live chat. Yeah, Van Horn and Doliak did both make it to the NBA for sure. Man, Keith Van Horn was one of those guys when I was started collecting basketball cards. Like, he was one of those rookies in those classes that they were. I mean, that was shout out to Keith Van Horn, man.
You're
like
right.
That guy had no business wearing those big long basketball baggy shorts like he did. But shout out to him.
Andre Miller on that team too.
Sure. Oh man, yeah, that was a good team.
Spot.
That was a good team for sure. Kentucky used to draw Utah in the tournament every year in the 90s. But Jarris didn't have a shot. Good stuff there, man. All right, let's get to these under-the-radar commits before we get out of here, Mike. 5 under-the-radar commitments now that we want. We love ourselves a 5-pack. Boom, right there on the screen. Shout out to the graphics department right there. Damian Collins, formerly of LSU, now doing business for South Florida. MJ Collins leaving the SEC and Vanderbilt and heading out to Utah State. Zion Stanford, formerly an Owl of Temple, now at Villanova, Deshane Montgomery now a Dayton Flyer, and Mookie Cook out there in San Francisco. So what do you feel about this 5-pack, Mike? Some guys maybe that, as high as 150 on the big board, as low as 312 with Mookie. What are you feeling about these guys?
Yeah, just not enough pub for maybe some upside here, especially Damian Collins. I'm sure Peanut Butter will jump in here. But, as a former big-time recruit, I think he flashed a little bit at Kentucky. And then he dealt with injuries. There were just so many guys in that Kentucky front court. First year at LSU a couple of years ago, just a lot of injuries that he had to go through. Last year, he kind of started putting it together. Now you're sliding down, right, to where you can be an impact player and potential defensive player of the year with South Florida. So I think this is an interesting move for him. I think he's capable of putting up something like 14 and 9 with a couple of blocks in this league. So, a guy that, when we talk about maybe South Florida, and they have a really good recruiting or transfer class, one that, like, if we were, spotlighting mid-majors, we would absolutely jump on their class. So yeah, I think he's in an interesting spot here. MJ Collins, like, he quietly put together his best year last year with Vanderbilt. Now he's going to slide over to Utah State, where they kind of run a similar rotation. They don't play as fast, but they play at a decent pace. He's really good in ball screen action, and I think he's going to be like a really good 20-minute microwave off the bench for a Utah State program that's been really good in the Mountain West over the last 3 or 4 years. And then Zion Stanford, he took a nice leap for Temple last year. He showed he could get to the line. He can help you on the glass. He's a facilitator from the wing. And it's felt like over the past 2 to 3 years, like, Villanova's lacked guys who can make an impact in multiple ways from the wing. So I think he's quietly going to be a good player for them. Deshane Montgomery, he gets out of Georgia. He battled some injuries last year. Tried the big transfer up from Mount St. Mary's. Kind of settled into like a microwave role at Georgia, where he popped off a few times down the stretch in the SEC play. He didn't really shoot it well, though, from 3 on the season. And, going to Dayton, man, Dayton lost a lot of guard talent. And, Anthony Grant's just been awesome for such a long time there, that I think this is an awesome move for Montgomery. He's a guy that should be a much more efficient scorer at that level. So looking forward to seeing him in the A-10. And then Mookie Cook, man, how often do you see top 40, 50-ish McDonald's All-Americans, the poster child of, like, your talented player, but injuries just have derailed his career. And sometimes these guys just need a new opportunity, man. I mean, he's going to have 3 years of eligibility left. So, like, for San Francisco to get a guy like this, like, this is a guy that, if it works for them, right, it works for them. He may transfer back out of there if he has a big year in the next year or two.
Bingo.
It's kind of one of those things that you take the risk on it, man. This is like an underrated type move for me.
Yeah, you're definitely going to do that. And you brought it up earlier, Mike, coaches being able to maintain these guys on a campus for longer than a year, especially when they, as I like to call them, the big dippers, right, that go from the power conferences down to the mid-majors or whatever, Oregon to San Francisco, that kind of move for Mookie Cook. Like, Mookie, can he find a way to, like you said, stay healthy, but also, make that talent translate to this level of basketball? Of course, if he's on the floor, you got to feel good about his chances to have success.
Yeah, and the name.
Yeah.
With it.
I don't know anybody named Mookie that's not a pro, honestly. So I expect to see him show up somewhere on a pro roster for sure. But, yeah, let's look at it one last time. We got Damian Collins, MJ Collins, Zion Stanford, Deshane Montgomery, and Mookie Cook getting some love here on one and done. One more time in the live chat, shout out to 7-Eleven Slurpee Drinks. I had a Coke Slurpee myself today, if we're being quite honest. Of course, we always are here on One and Done. I definitely had a Coke Slurpee today. Mookie Wilson, Mookie Betts, Mookie Blaylock, of course. Right
Mookie
there,
Taft. That's one of Jake's homeboys.
What's that? I didn't hear you.
Mookie Taft, dude.
Yeah, of course, all the Mookies. Did you know that was Pearl Jam's first name originally, Mookie Blaylock? I think I've said that on the show before, maybe once or twice. But that was Mookie Blaylock was Pearl Jam's original name, literally, and then they changed it to Pearl Jam before they dropped their album. So a little shout out there to Mookie Blaylock, for sure. Wasn't Chris Rock named Mookie in New Jack City? What a great movie. Shout out to New Jack City for sure. Hey, shout out to you for hopping in the live chat, Darren, Johnny K, Peanut Butter Posse, all the OGs in the live chat. For sure, Snake's Eyes in there a couple of times as well. Shout out to our guy, the Hall of Famer, CC Hustle, pushing those buttons tonight at The Real Napier. Shout out to Nape for doing his thing. Shout out to @FantasyNav in those Twitter streets. Eric the Blue getting all the graphics ready for you, doing stuff behind the scenes as well. Shout out to that man on your viewing device next to me, El Capitan himself, the captain of the one and done ship. Check out all of his work, as well as all the great work from Doc and the boys over at drroto.com. You will not be disappointed. Love that website. Check out what Doc's doing. One of the legendary names in all of fantasy sports and sports in general, Dr. Roto. Make sure you get over to drroto.com and check everything out over there. Push all those buttons. We're coming to you twice a week, give or take, with all the info you need for your off-season college basketball fix. So make sure you push those like and subscribe buttons. We're looking to hit like 1525 right now, on our way to like 11 fulfilling gazillion and one, I believe, is the target goal. But a couple right now would definitely be amazing. So if you're watching live, push it now. If you're watching later with your Cheerios in the morning, shout out to you. Make sure you push those buttons and hop in the comment section. Let us know you were here with us tonight. Shout out to everybody doing big things out there. Shout out to everybody for hanging out with us here on One and Done. Tell somebody you love them. Take care of yourselves. Take care of yourself. Really. We mean that. And we appreciate all of you for being here. We'll see you next time right here. My name is JayHeinrich. Come again.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drroto.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.